The Scholar Gipsy, M. Arnold. The speaker tells the tale of someone long ago that left the learned halls of Oxford to explore the practical learning of the gypsies, which seemed magical. Today there appear to be sightings of an elusive man that matches the Scholar Gipsy's description. He seems elusive because he has been warned that to spend too much time with modern man will affect his seemingly endless longevity because of the childlike, stress-free life he lives. The poem is very visual and scenic, stressing the peacefulness of a pastoral life versus the many modern changes that wear upon humanity. Dido is best known as the mythical Queen of Carthage, who died for love of her husband. The Scholar Gipsy. There was very lately a lad in the University of Oxford who was by his poverty forced to leave his studies there and at last to join himself to a company of vagabond gypsies. Among these extravagant people, by the insinuating subtlety of his carriage, he quickly got so much of their love and esteem as that they discovered to him their mystery. After he had been a pretty while well exercised in the trade, there chanced to ride by a couple of scholars who had formerly been of his acquaintance. They quickly spied out their old friend among the gypsies, and he gave them an account of the necessity which drove him to that kind of life, and told them that the people he went with were not such impostors as they were taken for, but that they had a traditional kind of learning among them, and could do wonders by the power of imagination, their fancy binding that of others. That himself had learned so much of their art, and when he had compassed the whole secret, he intended, he said, to leave their company and give the world an account of what he had learned. From Glanville's Vanity of Dogmatizing, 1661. Go, for they call you shepherd from the hill. Go, shepherd, and untie the wattled coats. No longer leave thy wistful flocks unfed, nor let thy bawling fellows rack their throats, nor the cropped grasses shoot another head. But when the fields are still, and the tired men and dogs all gone to rest, and only the white sheep are sometimes seen, cross and recross the strips of moon-blanched green. Come, shepherd, and again begin the quest. Here where the reaper was at work of late, in this high field's dark corner where he leaves his coat, his basket, and his earthen cruse, and in the sun all morning binds the sheaves, then here at noon comes back his stores to use. Here will I sit and wait, while to my ear from uplands far away the bleating of the folded flocks is borne, with distant cries of reapers in the corn, all the live murmur of a summer's day. Screened is this nook or the high half-reaped field, and here till sundown shepherd will I be. Through the thick corn the scarlet poppies peep, and round green roots and yellowing stalks I see. Pale blue convolvulus in tendrils creep, and air-swept lindens yield their scent and rustle down their perfumed showers of bloom on the bent grass where I am laid, and bower me from the August sun with shade, and the eye travels down to Oxford's towers. And near me on the grass lies Glanville's book. Come, let me read the oft-read tale again, the story of that Oxford scholar poor, of shining parts and quick inventive brain, who, tired of knocking at preferment's door, one summer morn forsook his friends and went to learn the gypsy lore, and roamed the world with that wild brotherhood, and came, as most men deemed, to little good, but came to Oxford and his friends no more. But once, years after, in the country lanes, two scholars whom at college erst he knew, met him, and of his way of life inquired. Whereat he answered that the gypsy crew, his mates, had arts to rule as they desired, the workings of men's brains, and they can bind them to what thoughts they will. And I, he said, the secret of their art, when fully learned, will to the world impart. But it needs heaven-sent moments for this skill. This said, he left them and returned no more, but rumors hung about the countryside that the lost scholar long was seen to stray, seen by rare glimpses pensive and tongue-tied, in hat of antique shape and cloak of grey, the same the gypsies wore. Shepherds had met him on the Hurst in spring, at some lone alehouse in the Berkshire moors. On the warm ingle bench the smock-frocked boors had found him seated at their entering. But mid their drink and clatter he would fly, and I myself seem half to know thy looks, and put the shepherd's wanderer on thy trace, and boys who in lone wheat fields scare the rooks. I ask if thou hast passed their quiet place, or in my boat I lie, moored to the cool bank in the summer heats, mid wide grass meadows which the sunshine fills, and watch the warm green muffled Cumnor hills, and wonder if thou haunt'st their shy retreats. For most I know thou lov'st retired ground, thee at the ferry Oxford riders blithe, returning home on summer nights have met, crossing the stripling Thames at Bablock Hythe, trailing in the cool stream thy fingers wet, as the punt's rope chops round, and leaning backward in a pensive dream, and fostering in thy lap a heap of flowers, plucked in shy fields and distant witchwood bowers, and thine eyes resting on the moonlit stream. And then they land, and thou art seen no more. Maidens who from the distant hamlets come to dance around the five-field elm in May, oft through the darkening fields have seen thee roam, or cross the stile into the public way. Oft thou hast given them store of flowers, the frail-leafed white anemone, dark bluebells drenched with dews of summer eves, and purple orchises with spotted leaves, but none has words she can report of thee. And above Godstow Bridge, when haytime's here, in June, and many a side in sunshine flames, men who through those wide fields of breezy grass, where black winged swallows haunt the glittering Thames, to bathe in the abandoned Lasher Pass, have often passed thee near, sitting upon the river bank or grown, mark thine outlandish garb, thy figure spare, thy dark vague eyes and soft abstracted air. But when they came from bathing, thou wert gone. At some lone homestead in the Cumnor hills, where at her open door the housewife darns, thou hast been seen, or hanging on a gate, to watch the threshers in the mossy barns. Children, who early range these slopes and late, for cresses from the rills, have known thee watching all an April day, the springing pastures and the feeding kine, and mark thee when the stars come out and shine, through the long dewy grass move slow away, in autumn on the skirts of Bagley Wood, where most the gypsies by the turf-edged way pitch their smoked tents, and every bush you see, with starlit patches tagged and shreds of grey, above the forest ground called Thessaly. The blackbird picking food sees thee, nor stops his meal, nor fears at all, so often has he known thee past him stray, twirling in thy hand a withered spray, and waiting for the spark from heaven to fall. And once in winter on the causeway chill, where home through flooded fields foot travellers go, have I not passed thee on the wooden bridge, wrapped in thy cloak and battling with the snow, thy face toward Hinksey and its wintry ridge, and thou hast climbed the hill and gained the white brow of the Cumnor range, turned once to watch while thick the snowflakes fall, the line of festal light in Christ Church Hall, then sought thy straw in some sequestered grange. But what? I dream. 200 years are flown since first thy story ran through Oxford halls, and the grave Glanville did the tale inscribe, that thou wert wandered from the studious walls, to learn strange arts and join a gypsy tribe, and thou from earth art gone, long since, and in some quiet churchyard laid, some country nook, where o'er thy unknown grave tall grasses and white flowering nettles wave, under a dark red-fruited yew tree's shade. No, no, thou hast not felt the lapse of hours, for what wears out the life of mortal men? 'Tis that from change to change their being rolls, 'tis that repeated shocks again, exhaust the energy of strongest souls. And numb the elastic powers, till having used our nerves with bliss and attain, and tired upon 1,000 schemes our wit, to the just pausing genius we remit our well-worn life and our what we have been. Thou hast not lived, why shouldst thou perish so? Thou hadst one aim, one business, one desire, else wert thou long since numbered with the dead. Else hast thou spent like other men thy fire? The generations of thy peers are fled, and we ourselves shall go. But thou possessest an immortal lot, and we imagine thee exempt from age, and living as thou liv'st on Glanville's page, because thou hadst what we, alas, have not. For early didst thou leave the world with powers, fresh undiverted to the world without, firm to their mark, not spent on other things, free from the sick fatigue, the languid doubt, which much to have tried and much been baffled brings, O life unlike to ours, who fluctuate idly without term or scope, of whom each strives nor knows for what he strives, and each half lives 100 different lives, who wait like thee, but not like thee in hope. Thou waitest for the spark from heaven, and we, light half-believers of our casual creeds, who never deeply felt nor clearly willed, whose insight never has borne fruit in deeds, whose vague resolves never have been fulfilled, for whom each year we see breeds new beginnings, disappointments new, who hesitate and falter life away, and lose tomorrow the ground we won today, and do not we, wanderer, await it too? Yes, we await it, but it still delays, and then we suffer, and amongst us one, who most has suffered, takes dejectedly his seat upon the intellectual throne, and all his store of sad experience he lays bare of wretched days, tells us his misery's birth and growth and signs, and how the dying spark of hope was fed, and how the breast was soothed, and how the head, and all his hourly varied anodynes. 'Tis for our wisest, and we others pine, and wish the long unhappy dream would end, and waive all claim to bliss, and try to bear with close-lipped patience for our only friend, sad patience too near neighbor to despair, but none has hope like thine. Thou through the fields and through the woods dost stray, roaming the countryside, a truant boy, nursing thy project in unclouded joy, and every doubt long blown by time away. O born in days when wits were fresh and clear, and life ran gaily as the sparkling Thames, before this strange disease of modern life, with its sick hurry, its divided aims, its heads o'ertaxed, its palsied hearts, was rife. Fly hence our contact fear, still fly, plunge deeper in the bowering wood, averse as Dido did, with gesture stern, from her false friends approach in Hades turn, wave us away and keep thy solitude. Still nursing the unconquerable hope, still clutching the inviolable shade, with a free onward impulse brushing through by night the silvered branches of the glade, for on the forest skirts where none pursue, on some mild pastoral slope. Emerge and resting on the moonlit pales, Freshen thy flowers as in former years, with dew, or listen with enchanted ears, from the dark dingles to the nightingales. But fly our paths, our feverish contact fly, for strong the infection of our mental strife, which though it gives no bliss, yet spoils for rest, and we should win thee from thy own fair life. Like us distracted and like us unblessed, soon thy cheer would die, thy hopes grow timorous, and unfixed thy powers, and thy clear aims be cross and shifting made, and then thy glad perennial youth would fade, and grow old at last, and die like ours. Then fly our greetings, fly our speech and smiles, as some grave Tyrian trader from the sea descried at sunrise an emerging prow, lifting the cool-haired creeper stealthily, the fringes of a southward-facing brow among the Aegean isles, and saw the merry Grecian coaster come, freighted with amber grapes and Chian wine, green bursting figs and tunnies steeped in brine, and knew the intruders on his ancient home, the young light-hearted masters of the waves, and snatched his rudder and shook out more sail, and day and night held on indignantly o'er the blue midland waters with the gale, betwixt the Sirtes and soft Sicily, to where the Atlantic raves outside the western straits and unbent sails. There, where down cloudy cliffs through sheets of foam, shy traffickers, the dark Iberians come, and on the beach undid his corded bales.